Okay, hello, my name is Krzysztof, and today I'm going to talk about Steem and Steemit. But first, disclaimer, I'm not related in any way with the Steemit Inc. company. I'm just a fan of Steem blockchain and ecosystem. And today I would like to describe you whole thing. I divided whole section for whole presentation for 3 sections. I'm not sure whether we will have time for that. Probably we will switch this with questions, but still at the beginning we will try to describe Steemit and Steem. What are the differences? And we talk about the economy of Steem blockchain and how actually build something like that. So the first question, what Steemit is? Because I guess how many of you already heard about Steem or Steemit? Raise your hands. Okay, not bad. Like 30% maybe. So Steemit by creators are called social platform. In my opinion, this is mostly blogging platform. Not the usual one because it's related to the cryptocurrency community. Basically, it's built on top of the blockchain, which is technical detail, but still this gives a lot of possibilities. But for normal user, which do not care about the background, about the backend, the important thing is, and interesting here is, that platform rewards people for creating content and creation. This is something new. Facebook do not pay you for posting, right? Reddit also. So this is quick demo how platform actually works. This is on the normal browser. You do not need to install anything. It just works. Steemit.com. And as you can see, you have a lot of articles. But there's something different. Next to each post, there is a small number with amount. Sometimes not small. Like here is $1.03. And after I upvoted this content because I discovered it's useful, we already have $1.13, like 10 cents more. Okay, so this is the normal platform. You can go to the user profiles, check what he posted, and of course, you can have own profile. You can publish some new posts. And you might think, okay, big deal. He gives some tip to the random guy on the internet. This is very easy to build. But everything is in the detail, because platform is basically, there are 4 important things. Platform is free to use. You do not need to spend any money to use it, to register, to use it daily, to vote. You do not need to spend any money on that. There are no fees on the platform. There are no microtransactions, and there is no tipping. So, from where those money came from? And we will try to explain this one by one. But first, let's explore the difference between Steem and Steemit. First thing, Steem. What the Steem is? Steem is a blockchain. The network, decentralized network, which is distributed, open source. It's called open source. It's public, belongs to all users, censorship resistant, and has 2 tokens. Basic one, Steem, and also Steem backed dollars. And Steemit is just a frontend, which was built as a kind of proof of concept by the creators of the Steem. And this is important fact because, as I described earlier, Steemit is a blogging platform. By the way, it has built-in web wallet. But things which should be noted: Steemit is owned by Steemit Incorporation, which has headquarters in the USA, and in theory, it can be shut down by some authorities because, I don't know, because they want to, it's shut down or something. So What's a big thing? What's big about that? Steemit is just one frontend, but Steem blockchain cannot be shut down as every good blockchain network. And as I said, Steemit is just a proof of concept. It's still in beta. So there is a main basic website called steemit.com, which is for blogging. There is another website which was built a few months ago, which is called biz.org. Also has a blogging feature, but also introduced messaging. People can send messages between themselves. Also, there is another project called Steem, which also is about blogging, about content, but it introduced not only mobile client, but also desktop wallet. So you do not need to have anymore a website with the domain, because domains can be shut down. The Pirate Bay know what exactly this means, right? But if you have like a desktop client, you do not care about these things anymore. And there are other projects like, for example, Steepshot. This is clone of Instagram, also integrated with the Steem blockchain. And those are only 4 among currently 120 other projects. Some are related to Steem, some are basically built on top of the Steem blockchain. So, but basically, it's worth check this website. What next? So we already know what the Steem is, but I forgot one thing. I believe I was supposed to do something when we were here. I want to post one. Give you an example how basically this works. So we very quickly. Sorry, I'm not a Mac user. I earlier prepared a post, which I'm going to post from my account. This is about this meeting. And by the way, all funds which will be gathered by this post will be given to this community, blockchain Wrocław meetup. Maybe next time we will have some funds to do something with that. Maybe different location, maybe some gifts, I don't know. So let's basically publish that. Title, body, tags. I already filled in everything. And here's something new. I can decide how I want to receive rewards. Whether I want to by default split 50-50, I will explain later what this means. And right now I will use default, so basically post. Okay, and as you can see, this is already published. And we will come to that post later. We will see whether other people like it or no. We will see. Okay. Let's back to the presentation. Okay, economy of Steem network. Basically, there is a Steem white paper published, which can be recommended as some very deep source of knowledge. The sad thing is, right now it's a little bit outdated, but still is a good place to start to understand whole reasoning behind our project. Unfortunately, it's a very, very long, 44 pages. So I'll try to describe what is important in this. But I will try to actually do some challenge with you. Let's imagine that we want to build actually decentralized platform, something like this. Because this is a good way how we actually can understand why certain things were designed in the way how they were designed. So, how to build an engine for the new generation social media platform? We have to set certain goals. People should be rewarded for their work. People should have freedom of speech. People should have access to the platform. Why we can assume that those things are important? Okay, this is obvious that people should be rewarded for work. You want to have salary in your job, right? This is obvious. But this is not obvious for owners of the Facebook. Basically, I always want to like to ask a question: how much Facebook would be worth without users?
Billions.
Without users. Without nothing. So basically, who actually introduced value to the whole platform? I can argue that majority of value comes directly from users. But Facebook do not recognize this effort. They prefer to spend those money on employees and board members. Here we want to actually recognize where true effort and value is born. Also, freedom of speech. In theory, if you publish something on the Facebook, you can be fired or also in some country even put into the jail, and of course everything will be deleted. So we need to design some whole system to actually have certainty that this will never happen, that actually everything could be published. And also, access to the platform should be from everywhere, so that people in China could actually use it. They cannot do that very easily with the Facebook and other Eastern clones, Eastern websites. So, what is the solution for this problem? Blockchain, right? Not exactly. I mean, blockchain is necessary, but blockchain is not enough. Because there is no point of using blockchain just because of using blockchain. Because blockchain is just a tool. There are other companies which right now experimenting with the blockchain, like for example IBM. And just because they are using blockchain, do not mean that they actually want to focus on those goals. No. So blockchain is necessary, but we need to actually design something what will build this product. Company, but not the usual one. Decentralized autonomous company. Are you familiar with this phrase? Maybe with the decentralized autonomous organization. Anyone would like to explain briefly what is that? To be honest, I also didn't know exactly how this should be understood, so I prepared a very short video about that, which can be helpful to understand whole concept.
The first time I heard the phrase decentralized autonomous company, it all sounded a bit wishy-washy and didn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, how do you have an autonomous company that runs by itself? But then I found out that I was already very familiar with a DAC. In fact, Bitcoin was the world's first DAC. I think it will help us to examine this comparison. Bitcoin has a product. It's a payment service. It competes with banks, Visa, PayPal, Western Union, and others for sending payments from one party to another all around the world. It has revenues. Bitcoin charges small fees on some transactions. Bitcoin has shareholders. The shareholders are you and I, the people who actually own Bitcoin. Let's say you own 1% of all Bitcoin in existence. That is like owning 1% of stock in the Bitcoin company. As the company grows, hopefully the share price goes up. If the company shrinks or fails, then the share price might drop. Bitcoin has employees. They are called miners. Miners secure the network and facilitate these payments. Bitcoin has costs. It pays those employees via two mechanisms. The first is the fees we spoke about earlier. 100% of the fees earned by the Bitcoin company are passed on to the miners as salary. The second is through the dilution of shares. Bitcoin regularly creates new Bitcoin called block rewards and gives it to the miners to supplement their salary. Because Bitcoin is also a currency, we call that inflation. But in the context of a DAC, it is called share dilution. Eventually, this dilution will reduce to zero and miners will have to work for fees only. Of course, Bitcoin has customers. Every person that sends a Bitcoin payment is a customer. Bitcoin has voting rights. When changes to the system like code updates and hard forks are proposed, the community decides if they wish to accept those changes. The community of miners who are paid to secure the network currently holds arguably the majority of Bitcoin's voting rights, although it's not a formalized process. While some miners hold Bitcoin, some do not. In this way, it is Bitcoin's employees and not its owners that hold Bitcoin's voting rights. Through the lens of a DAC, this is not desirable. It would be preferable if the shareholders had voting rights. Bitcoin has a charter. That is the Bitcoin code that all parties agree to operate by. As you can see, the analogy of Bitcoin being a company is very useful and quite accurate. Bitcoin is also decentralized and autonomous. and therefore Bitcoin is the world's first DAC. You now have a definition of a DAC as well as an example of a DAC that you are probably already familiar with.
Okay, that would be about what the DAC is, and thanks to that we should be able to actually design a company more clearly, because we know what we need, what we have, how we can do certain things. So, as we have goals like this, our foundation, what is important? We recognize as employees, block producers, we need someone to actually validate all transactions, to make sure that network is secure. We need to make sure that developers will not starve and they will have resources to actually continue to build products. But that is new. We recognize as employees also users. Users, they are not employees by explicitly, but they can be rewarded. Why not? So, what are the problems? How to pay them, those employees? How to convince people to reward others? How to make paycheck of an employee stable? We, for example, have problems with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not stable, so people do not want to accept this as a salary. So how we convince users that it's a good idea to actually take cryptocurrency as a salary? How to convince investors for long-term investment? Because always money are needed to actually build something. Okay, so let's try to examine this from the beginning. How to pay them, how to convince people to reward others. Let's take a look on the Bitcoin. Bitcoin paying miners buy block rewards, right? We already agreed that basically Bitcoin can be treated as a shares. So actually miners receive shares by shares dilution, by inflation. We can take a look on this and then we can use that exactly. So we will try to actually pay users by share dilutions, by from rewards from the new blocks. Also, very important thing, block rewards are designed to be spent. What I mean by that? Because, as I said, we have problem how to convince people to reward others. People do not like to use own money to reward others. Okay, if they really care, they can do that. But, for example, many decentralized networks, like for example Lisk or BitShares, has this problem that they have some funds to actually spend on projects. And someone needs to vote whether some project is worthy support. And for example, BitShares has the problem because the Chinese community do not want to spend money at all, because they think it's better to save this money for the worst time. And this is very difficult to actually build something when you do not have funds. But Bitcoin take another approach. Bitcoin already said those money will be spent on mining on the average 10 minutes, and that is the rule. So there's a similar rule. Rewards will be spent to the users. Previously there was daily reward pool, right now there is weekly reward pool, and people can actually only participate in the deciding who will receive that. Whether this post, maybe another, but if you will not vote, someone else will decide for you. So that is why people actually participate in the elections, because they do not want to be excluded, someone else will vote for you. Also, users are paid proportionally to recognize value of the work. This is very important because there is no ideal way to actually determine whether this post is better or that one. For me, this can be the greatest post ever, but for you, maybe you don't like this stuff. So this is subjective proof of work, but still in the large scale, this balance in some way. Certain people want to receive a reward this type of content, certain others. And also, basically there is stack-based voting. What basically means, this is supposed to give the network the ability that certain users which produce high quality content, they probably know how to produce high quality content, so they will in the time gain better, stronger vote. So professionals basically vote for professionals and others. Basically, probably good author will not vote for crap just because he liked it, because he knows how much time he spent to actually produce such content. So good authors, good active users in the platform have stronger vote. And technicality to prevent civil attacks. There's certain rule, but basically, if you want, you can have as many accounts as you wish. But this is not profitable in any way because of this rule. Next thing, how to make paycheck of an employee stable. As we already agreed, people do not want to receive something and day after that realize that okay, the price dropped and I have only 50% of that. No, people want to, when they receive something, they want to have certainty that this is what they received. So proposed solution is smart contract, which was worth exactly $1 American dollars. Basically, this is implemented in such way that basically, as this is here, whenever people someone would like to actually convert Steem dollars to Steem, they will receive exactly proper amount of Steem to actually have a value of exactly $1. What are precautions? Because this is actually a debt, right? So what are precautions? Steem dollars is like exclusive. It's not cannot be printed, produced into eternity. There can be only 2% Steem dollars compared to the market cap of whole Steem ecosystem. After that, people will be actually paid in shares for this Steem token. And also, to actually balance Steem dollars creation or demand for that, witnesses, which is a form of governance, similar like in Lisk, have a power to actually add additional interest to Steem dollars. So if, for example, people will be afraid maybe Steem dollars tomorrow will not worth $1 because a lot of people selling it, witnesses can actually increase interest, which convince some people to actually keep it a little bit longer, not do panic sale. What next? How to convince investors for long-term investment? Very important goal. Financial investment is not required to be a participant in the platform. This is a goal, and I would like to emphasize that. But still, if people need to be rewarded with some real money, the money need to came from, right? So Steem from the beginning was on different exchanges. It was on the CoinMarketCap. Right now it's probably the 22 position. So certain people want to speculate whether it will go up, will go down. So they actually provide the value to the Steem token. And actually, reward pool is made from Steem tokens. In the process of hosting and generation reward, Steem is converted to the Steem dollar. So the value of the rewards can be different compared to the Steem market cap. And very difficult thing, which is very complicated to a lot of people, that was also very complicated for me. What is a solution to actually incentivize investors for long-term investment? Because what authors of the Steem want to do, they would like to design a system which will prevent pump and dump scenario, which is pretty common in the crypto community space. So they decided to actually prepare a system which will give some additional benefits to people which hold, right? Which basically do not trade on a daily basis. They just focus on the real value of the project. There is a financial term called vesting. Basically, it means in that context locking funds. If you lock funds, then you receive few things. Basically, only locked funds actually translates to the power of your vote. If you decided that, for example, you receive some money from the reward from the post, you can withdraw everything, but you can also decide to keep it as a Steem power, and your vote will be stronger because you decided that you want to support the whole community. Also, important thing. Those money which are vested also, of course, has to be able to actually taken from the system. So the conversion from Steem power to Steem actually takes 13 weeks. This prevents panic sales. You can withdraw anything, but this will take 13 weeks. 1 week after another, you receive 1/13 of the whole sum. Previously that was 104, but after hard fork 16, that was changed. So that was the obvious reason why price declined, because a lot of people decided to actually leave the platform. But at the same time, funny thing happened because people already know, hey, I can withdraw everything in 3 months. That is not so long, so I can wait right now. So actually, when that change was introduced, people decided to stop powering down, which is a procedure for this conversion. And when that was introduced, actually price stabilized. And also, last feature, Steem power actually reduces inflation, effective inflation of the Steem. At the very beginning of the Steem network, right now Steem network is more than a year old. At the very beginning, inflation of the Steem token was very, very big. It was 100% yearly, but that was only important to the traders, because most of the people on the platform actually kept everything in the Steem power, and effective inflation was for them 10%, which is still big, but for 8 years Bitcoin has greater inflation, so people can deal with that. Right now, after hard fork 16, this is different, and inflation for Steem token is 9.5%. Yeah. How block rewards are split after latest hard fork 16? Right now we have already hard fork 18. So this is how blocks rewards are split. Most of block rewards goes directly to the authors and to the voters. Why voters has to be actually rewarded? Because you can post great posts on some platform, but if no one will find it, basically this value will never be discovered. So certain amount of money from reward pool actually goes to the voters. And as you can see, rest to the witnesses, which are blocks producers, and this amount actually reduces inflation of the Steem power holders, which actually incentivize them to. I think I had to refresh. Last thing on the slide: how rewards from posts are split. We'll take a look in a minute on the post which I published. And we will see some amount, but this amount not goes directly fully to the author. This is divided. 25% goes to the voters, and 75% goes to the author. So this is easy to actually notice there. But not everything can be rewarded immediately. Basically, voting period for a particular post. Previously, it was 1 day. But to actually incentivize to build content more valuable, that was increased to 7 days. And after 7 days, basically you can withdraw everything. So you can withdraw all $6 which you receive, but another half of your reward you will receive in the shares of whole network. So this produces very interesting thing. As soon as you will publish something on the network for free, and if other people would recognize this as valuable content, probably will receive some rewards, and from now on, you will be Steem power holders. You will be a shareholder of the new social media. And how shareholders actually behave. They actually care about the products which they own. So this introduces a completely new concept because that would be for me extraordinary if I became a shareholder of the Facebook on the early days of 2008. Probably now I would be already rich. So basically this is how, of course this cannot give any guarantee, but at least this treat all users equal. Okay. Another thing which I would like to mention, there are two really important posts. Basically, they were posted even before Steem existed, but they were posted by Dan Larimer, which was CTO of the Steem. Basically, he figured out how decentralized how blockchain can be built without fees. That is the interesting thing. You can send Steem dollars or Steem to another user, and there is no fee. The cost is exactly zero. There is no other network which at least I know, which actually can do that. But you may think, okay, so how they prevent DDoS attack, right? Because fees are for a reason in the Bitcoin. This is too expensive to actually spam the network. But in this article, the whole concept of rate-limited free transaction is introduced, a very interesting technical topic. And also very interesting topic, how to launch cryptocurrency legally while raising funds. That was actually not clear for most users of Steem at the beginning, because, for example, Bitcoin community say that Steem network has unfair start. There was no pre-mine, but basically information how to mine was not provided. Very little people actually know how to do that, and here is a reason described why that was done in such way. Okay, and almost last thing. I believe that the worst thing on the platform is to have an account and do not know who you like to follow. So I can recommend you a few interesting people on the platform which post interesting things. Basically, official Steemit blogs and few people from Steemit, other people from different projects. A lot of people from you are developers, so here are very good skilled developers on the platform. And also there is mine account, I'm Noisy, on the Steemit as well. You can follow me, you can ask me questions here and there. And before I will end, let's take a look on the post. Let's refresh it. Okay, it's not bad. As you can see, here I have less than $1, but 70 cents, and I still can gather more in 7 days. A lot of people voted. Probably some of them are bots. I have some comments. Let's take a look on that. Okay. Oh! Someone took a picture of me. Okay. I didn't expect that. And last thing I would like to show you also, on the platform I can not only publish my own stuff, but also I can redeem stuff of others. And that was posted more than 7 days ago, so the author of this post already received. And as you can see, that so much goes to the author, more than $3 goes to the curators. So this is how it looks. Basically, from my perspective, if you wait some time on the internet, but of course you are not doing that, you are spending only productive time on the internet, but if you do that, you can take a look on the Steemit, because you can vote there, you can post some stuff, or even comments, and you can be rewarded for that like in no other place. I believe that will be all from my side. I will be happy to answer some questions from you. Thank you.
like several apps, like you mentioned over 100 that are working on the Steemit platform. So how do they determine the proportion of block rewards that go to each of these projects?
Basically, previously, like to the till last hardcore, which happened 3 weeks ago, there was no basically a way to generate a revenue stream for another app. Basically, the app developers basically have a way to create something on Steemit and use it as an engine, but they need to figure out how to monetize the application in another way. That was a situation till last hard fork. I think I do not have data for this script, but after last hard fork, something like reward post beneficiaries was introduced. So if I will build a platform like Polish clone of Reddit Wykop2.pl, I can set up that, for example, 10% of reward from each post will go to my account. This can be set up in any way. Up to 8 beneficiaries from one post can be set. For example, I can publish a post with my friend, and we can split by default 50-50 or in any other way. So after last hard fork, there are plenty of possibilities to actually, if people which will use your platform will be rewarded, you can directly benefit from that. So, is it answer? This is answer for your question?
No, I think one other part was like, how does it know how much the block reward goes to Steemit or goes to, I believe it was a Busy or the other?
By default, rewards goes here. 70 from each block, 75% to the users by the reward fund, reward pool, and the rest to the witnesses and so on. But this amount is split after a week. So there is a voting period, which is 1 week exactly. And all votes are calculated according to this rule. And proportionally they are rewarded from whole reward pool. If, for example, every user will vote for one post and no one will vote for other posts, one post can get all rewards entirely. Okay. Any other questions?
I have one question. How much of what you describe is about the blockchain and how much is about the Steemit actually?
All those problems which you describe here is about Steem, the blockchain, about the decentralized company. Everything, whole economy is built in the blockchain. So actually, Steemit, the website, is pretty simple. It's basically front-end heavy. Everything is on the front end, and there is no special logic behind in the front end. In theory, they could, like set up additional few percent to their account, but they are not doing that. They mine some Steem at the very, very beginning. That was this unfair start.
So if I create account on this page, I'm creating it in the blockchain, or
yes. So for example, everything what you will publish on one website, which is built on top of the. For example, this is my account, as you already saw, and I can go directly to another website, like Busy, and you will see exactly the same thing. Basically, Steem is a database. Right here, yeah? Steem is the database which can be used by other things. If this website will go down, I can use my desktop application to actually retrieve all the data. Or I can actually download all blockchain to my hard drive and have something to read in the journal. Okay.
So are all posts actually connected to the blockchain? Like
yes.
Okay, so how do you...
Images are not stored in the blockchain.
Yeah, but how do you, like, okay, maybe I'll just read this blog post, like, how do you prevent spams, like, of the blockchain?
Rate limited free transactions. What basically means that if you are not really big user on the platform, basically you can, for example, post every X seconds, comment every
Okay,
few
but
minutes.
you can always create your first post without, so what prevents you from creating, like, any number of accounts and just posting one post on each of them and just having a network like that?
Basically, if there will be a place in the block, those things will be filled in the put in the block. But at the very beginning, actually, account of the new users are donated with certain amount of Steem. Why is that needed? This is not because of the generosity of the authors. Actually, the new user need to have certain Steem to participate in the rate limited free transactions rule. So if you have, for example, 1% of the whole Steem tokens, you can use 1% of whole bandwidth of the network, because this network belongs to you. Because you are a shareholder, you can use this network as you wish. But you can use only proportional amount of place in the block in comparison to your account balance. So to spam network, you would actually need to buy a lot of Steem. What actually will cause that Steem price will go up, and everyone will be happy. Okay.
So about the payouts, you have right now 73 cents. So from my understanding, it's like 50% in Steem dollars. So you will get from this like the half of this in cents, or is it like it's already 50% and you have 50% in Steem?
This amount, as was described in one slide, is split in two parts. 25% to the voters, which recognize this as a valuable content.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, if someone is very talented in searching good content and promoting it, they can actually, such people can actually profit directly from that. Discover content early. And 75% from this amount will go to me. And from this 75%, half of that will go to me in the form of Steem dollars, which I will be able to withdraw immediately after voting period will end, after 7 days. And another half I will receive the Steem Power, which is a form of vested Steem. I can also withdraw that, but this will take for me 13 weeks to do so.
And is it possible to pay out everything from Steem in Bitcoin?
No, there is no integration with any other cryptocurrencies. You can actually set up that you would like to receive everything in Steem Power.
So it's not tradable.
What?
Steem Power is.
Of course, it's Steem Power. No, Steem Power is not tradable. You can trade Steem and Steem dollars on exchanges like Poloniex, Bittrex, and others. There is no Polish exchange which accepts Steem or Steem dollars right now, but you can actually spend.
Steem Power is only in app.
Yes, it's locked Steem. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I believe that's all. Thank you very much for your attention.